Let's be very honest. There's something morbidly fascinating about disasters, as long as we're watching from a safe distance. And in the world of technology, colossal failures, especially the messy, catastrophic ones, often teach us far more than glowing success stories ever could. The 15 disasters in this video span nearly 4 centuries, and while the gadgets and gizmos may have evolved, the reasons behind their catastrophic failures are pretty familiar. Impatient clients who won't hear no, lazy designers who cut corners, blind faith in new tech, and of course, good old-fashioned hubris. Instead of rehashing the usual suspects, like Chernobyl or Titanic, we've dug up some lesser-known disasters with fresh lessons to offer. These tales vary in time, place, and cause, but they all highlight one universal truth. Even the most trusted technologies can fail spectacularly, with devastating consequences no one could have anticipated. Let's start off with number 15. Faulty Soviet early warning system nearly causes World War III. The year was 1983, and the Cold War tension was so thick you could cut it with a dull butter knife. It was during this precarious period that a Soviet early warning system designed to detect U.S. missile launches decided to cry wolf. It reported that 5 American missiles were en route to obliterate Mother Russia. Enter Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov, the unsung hero of this nerve-wracking moment. While protocol dictated launching a retaliatory strike, Petrov had what he called a funny feeling that the system was wrong. His reasoning? If the U.S. were attacking, they'd send more than 5 missiles. Turns out, he was right. The culprit? A software glitch triggered by sunlight reflecting off clouds. Petrov's gut instinct saved the world from nuclear Armageddon that day, but the incident underscored just how close we came to letting faulty software play God. Sometimes, all that stands between peace and oblivion is one person's common sense. Number 14. The Vasa sinking. The Swedish flagship Vasa's first and final sailing in August 1628 became an enduring cautionary tale for overambitious leaders everywhere. King Gustavus II Adolphus, eager to make Sweden a naval superpower, demanded 4 warships built as quickly as possible. But this was no ordinary ship. It had to be bigger, grander, and deadlier than anything else afloat. Mid-construction, the king decided it needed to be even longer. His shipwright, hesitant to challenge the famously hot-headed monarch, went along with the changes. When the shipwright fell ill and eventually died, his apprentice was left in charge of the increasingly unstable project. At the king's insistence, a second gun deck was added, despite the ship's already shaky design. The results were predictable. During a stability test, where sailors ran side to side to check their balance, the Vasa nearly tipped over. Still, no one dared deliver the bad news to the king. On launch day, with Stockholm's elite watching, the Vasa sailed a few hundred meters before capsizing. 50 people died, and Sweden's grand symbol of power became a symbol of hubris instead. Number 13. The Hyatt Regency walkway collapse. When 3 floating walkways collapsed in Kansas City's swanky Hyatt Regency on July 17, 1981, early speculation focused on the partygoers dancing on them. Surely it was their lively steps that triggered the disaster. But the truth was far more mundane and infuriating. The original design had the 2nd and 4th floor walkways suspended by continuous steel rods. But during construction, the contractor opted for a shortcut, replacing them with shorter rods that transferred the weight of the 2nd floor walkway onto the 4th. This doubled the load on the connectors. Engineers approved the change without fully considering its impact, and the hotel's management brushed off their own designers' requests to monitor construction. When the walkways filled with patrons that night, the overloaded connectors gave way, sending people and concrete crashing into the lobby below. The deadliest structural failure in U.S. history took 114 lives, all because of poor communication, rushed decisions, and unchecked arrogance. Number 12. The Eschede train derailment. Sometimes even the safest technologies are undone by seemingly small flaws. For 34 years, high-speed rail had an impeccable safety record, until June 3, 1998, when Germany's intercity express train derailed near Eschede, revealing just how fragile flawless can be. To reduce noise and vibration, engineers wrapped the train's wheels with rubber-cushioned metal tires. Inspections were thorough, daily checks, even ultrasound. But they missed a tiny crack in one tire. During the journey, that crack expanded and the tire broke apart, partially derailing the train. Incredibly, it stayed upright, and passengers might have been spared had it not been for an outdated bridge with a central pillar. A swaying car struck the pillar, collapsing the bridge onto the speeding train. The collision caused a devastating pileup, killing 101 people. The Eschede disaster was a harsh reminder that even groundbreaking innovations can fail catastrophically when paired with aging infrastructure or overlooked details. Number 11. The Iroquois Theater blaze. What the Titanic was to the sea, Chicago's Iroquois Theater was to the stage, a triumph of modern design, touted as absolutely fireproof. But on December 30th, 1903, that bold claim went up in flames, quite literally. The owners had rushed to open the theater before its sprinkler system was installed and fire drills were planned. Their safety plan relied entirely on a single piece of technology, an asbestos curtain meant to block fires from spreading to the audience. When a backstage spotlight ignited a painted canvas backdrop during a packed matinee of Mr. Bluebeard, the asbestos curtain jammed halfway down. As the crew opened stage doors to flee, a gust of air turned the smoldering fire into a raging inferno. Patrons scrambled for exits, only to find many locked or outfitted with unfamiliar latches. 602 people died, more than twice the toll of the Great Chicago Fire. The fireproof theater proved that hubris, shortcuts, and blind faith in untested solutions are a deadly combination. Number 10. The Ashtabula Creek Bridge Wreck. The United States' deadliest bridge collapse demonstrates the dangers of thinking, if it works in one material, why not another? In 1863, railroad tycoon Amasa B. Stone Jr. was eager to prove iron's superiority over wood in bridge construction. The Howe wooden truss design, a proven system with iron rods added for strength, was the gold standard. But Stone, chasing innovation, and probably profits, decided to recreate the entire structure in iron. Never mind that the material's hidden weaknesses and pressure-based design left no room for error. On December 29, 1876, a passenger train rolled across the Ashtabula Creek Bridge. Unseen flaws in the iron, including air bubbles in key support, caused the bridge to fail catastrophically. The train plummeted into the icy creek, fires erupted from overturned stoves, and over 100 passengers perished. Stone's gamble on untested design principles backfired spectacularly, leaving a legacy not of progress, but of cautionary engineering textbooks and a frozen creek full of regret. Number 9. The St. Francis Dam Burst. It's never wise to underestimate nature or overestimate your own brilliance. William Mulholland, the genius behind Los Angeles water system, discovered this the hard way with the St. Francis Dam. Built in 1926 to store water for a rapidly growing LA, the dam seemed sound until March 12, 1928, when it collapsed a day after Mulholland's personal inspection and thumbs up. The resulting flood unleashed a 24-meter-high wall of water, destroying everything in its path and killing over 500 people. Mulholland's masterpiece turned out to be fatally flawed. Unstable rock foundations, an overly thin base, and insufficient understanding of uplift forces. It wasn't just one bad decision, but a whole era's worth of overconfident engineering, as America's dam-building boom outpaced its knowledge. Though Mulholland took the fall, The disaster led to critical changes in dam safety regulations, testing standards, and wrongful death arbitration laws. "I envy the dead," Mulholland said, retreating from public life. Nature, as always, had the last word. Number 8. The Atlantic Empress Aegean Captain Collision. If oil supertankers were metaphorical elephants, this was two of them meeting in a very crowded room. On July 19, 1979, the Atlantic Empress and Aegean Captain proved industry critics right when they collided near Tobago during a run-of-the-mill rainstorm. These massive, clunky behemoths, stretching over 400 meters and weighing hundreds of thousands of tons, were already hard to steer, relying on single propellers and underpowered engines. Add a little radar overconfidence, and disaster was almost guaranteed. The crash killed 26 crew members and spilled 185 million liters of oil, more than 4 times the Exxon Valdez spill. But because it happened far offshore, out of public sight, it was largely ignored. The oil industry dodged the spotlight, and supertankers sailed on, still unprepared for the unexpected. Now, let's move to Number 7. The day AT&T's lines went dead. The Y2K bug might have been the disaster that didn't happen, but AT&T's network crash on January 15, 1990 was a catastrophe no one saw coming. Known for its rock-solid reliability, AT&T's phone system was the stuff of legends, until a single mechanical glitch snowballed into chaos. It started with a minor failure at one of the company's 114 switching centers. When the center rebooted, it sent out signals that caused other centers to crash, triggering a chain reaction across the entire network. In hours, America's phone system collapsed like a row of poorly stacked dominoes. Airlines lost reservations, TV networks lost news feeds, and millions were left wondering how one of the most robust systems in the world could fail. The culprit? A single line of faulty code in a software upgrade is meant to speed up calls. Ironically, the system's redundancy, designed to prevent such failures, spread the bug like a virus. Number 6. The 1965 Northeast Blackout. California's rolling blackouts in 2001 might have seemed chaotic, but nothing matched the 1965 Northeast Blackout. The culprit? A single relay switch near Niagara Falls was tripped by a surge of power too big to handle. On November 9, 1965, when the relay shut down, power intended for Toronto flooded back into western New York, frying circuits and triggering shutdowns across the grid. Within minutes, 30 million people across 8 U.S. states and Canada were plunged into darkness. The blackout wasn't caused by greed or market manipulation, but by engineers' well-meaning efforts to link power grids for efficiency. They just didn't anticipate how one tiny failure could ripple across a complex, interconnected system. New Yorkers, claiming the blackout as their own, handled it with surprising grace, dining by candlelight, helping strangers, and sleeping in lobbies. But the famed blackout baby boom, 9 months later? Pure myth. Turns out, even in pitch darkness, people still use protection. Number 5. The Concorde crash. Until July 25, 2000, the Concorde was the crown jewel of aviation, fast, sleek, and unbelievably safe. Its engineers had tested it longer and harder than any other plane in history. But for all its glamour, the Concorde had hidden vulnerabilities. Its tires were prone to blowouts, and its fuel tanks weren't reinforced against impact, a standard feature in newer jets. Disaster struck when a titanium wear strip fell off a Continental DC-10 on the runway in Paris. As the Concorde sped over it, the debris shredded a tire, sending a chunk of rubber hurtling into the wing. The impact tore a hole in the fuel tank, which ignited moments later. The fiery crash killed all 109 on board and 4 on the ground. Though fixes were made, stronger tires, reinforced tanks, the damage was done. Number 4. Bhopal gas tragedy. The Bhopal gas tragedy is a haunting reminder of how a cascade of poor decisions, design flaws, and negligence can lead to one of the worst industrial disasters in history. In the early hours of December 3, 1984, the Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal leaked 40 tons of methyl isocyanate gas into the surrounding area. Estimates of the death toll vary widely, from 4,000 to 30,000. But the impact on survivors and the environment is undeniable and ongoing. The disaster stemmed from a lethal cocktail of cost-cutting, poor maintenance, and equipment failures. Safety systems were either switched off or malfunctioning, and water entered a tank storing the highly reactive gas, triggering the release. No alarms went off, and no evacuation plan was in place. Union Carbide's response: blame shifting and inadequate compensation. Number 3, Microsoft's AI chatbot goes horribly wrong. In 2016, Microsoft unleashed Tay, an AI chatbot designed to chat like a friendly, hip American teenager. The goal? Showcase the wonders of AI. The result? A masterclass in how quickly the internet can ruin even the most innocent intentions. Tay was programmed to learn from interactions with users. Unfortunately, Microsoft didn't account for trolls. Within hours, Tay went from tweeting innocuous comments to spouting racist, sexist, and wildly inappropriate content, all thanks to the internet's dark humor and penchant for chaos. Microsoft pulled the plug just 16 hours later, leaving Tay to live on in infamy as the shortest-lived AI experiment ever. The fiasco wasn't just an embarrassment for Microsoft, but also a reminder of the dangers of deploying machine learning in the wild. If AI is a reflection of us, Tay's rapid descent proved just how much we need to clean up our act before handing the reins to algorithms. Number 2. Child Support Agency disaster. In 2004, the UK's Child Support Agency faced a debacle that epitomized the perils of relying on flawed technology. IT giant Electronic Data Systems delivered the CS2 computer system, which managed to underpay 700,000 people while overpaying 1.9 million others. The chaos left taxpayers footing a $1 billion bill and the CSA in ruins. The disaster wasn't just about numbers, it shattered trust in a vital public service. Poor design, implementation issues, and a lack of oversight created a system so dysfunctional it practically became a case study of how not to manage public IT projects. Number 1. The two-digit year 2000 problem. The Millennium Bug, or Y2K, was less a disaster and more a slow-burning global tech migraine caused by a terrible decision, using 2 digits to represent years in computer systems. As the year 2000 loomed, fears of catastrophic failures in everything from power grids to air traffic control systems led to a worldwide scramble to fix the issue. The bug itself was a ticking time bomb planted decades earlier when programmers saved memory space by abbreviating years, e.g. 99 instead of 1999. When clock struck midnight on January 1, 2000, systems still running unfixed code could think it was 1900, with potentially disastrous consequences. The global price tag for prevention? A staggering $400 billion. In the end, the bug fizzled rather than detonated, thanks to exhaustive preparations. While critics argued it was overblown, the real takeaway is this: cutting corners in tech might save you money now, but it's the future that pays the bill, with interest. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.